This is Bonnie's Eye and Friends. I'm Bonnie DeShong, and it's time for Bonnie's Eye on Film with my good friend and critic, Reggie Ponder, the Real Critic. Hey, baby.
Yay. Well, good to be back, Bonnie. Good to be back.
Always good to have you, even though sometimes I don't want to see you, but it's
I
good to have you.
Hey, I feel your pain. I feel your pain. They say that in my household too.
Well, today we're going to talk about a film that we went to see called Here. So, Here, for me, Reggie, it took me a minute to catch up. Okay. But it's about several families that live in this house on this land, and how over the years and centuries things have happened within this house on this land. I keep saying that. So Reggie, what did you think about it?
Well, I actually really liked how you started to describe it. For people who don't know, is that this is Robert Zemeckis's adaptation, Academy Award-winning director Robert Zemeckis is his adaptation of the Richard Maguire's graphic novel by the same name.
Hmm.
And to what you just said, it's funny that you said you were kind of repeating yourself because it's true. It is about a place over time, and it's about the life that lived there throughout that time, and it's about the transformations that happened during that time.
Yeah.
So the story really centers around Richard and Margaret, even though there are multiple families there, but it centers around Richard and Margaret who raise a family, and it's about their trials as well as their triumphs. And when we talk about who's in it, and that's what's really important, is that, or at least to a lot of people, is Tom Hanks and Robin Wright really anchor this, but they have Paul Brittany, Kelly Riley, and Michelle Dockery. And uh, Tom Hanks and Robin Wright, uh, are in a reunion of sorts because um,
Forrest Gump.
from Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
So I just want to set the stage there. But before I tell you what I think, when you walked out the movie, even though you said to me that it took you a while to catch up, it seemed like you found this very, very beautiful and very touching.
I did.
Am I
I,
off?
I did. I found it, thought provoking too, because it really had me thinking, but it was a beautifully done film. And the editing is amazing. I mean, it's just amazing. So yeah, I thought it was a beautiful film. I thought about it all the way up to today, even Reggie. I thought about it a lot. Um, but like I said, it took me a minute to catch up in the beginning, you know.
Yeah, so
Um,
I always come up with at least three things that I like about any film, and when I can't find three things, then that means the film is pretty darn bad. Uh, so so I found some stuff that I liked about it. I think that the first one is I like the ambition of Zemeckis. I think that his ambition to bring this story and the way in which he tried to bring it, it was a bit confusing, but it's ambitious, and a lot of times we criticize people for getting outside the formula, but then we criticize for just getting the formula. So I'm not going to criticize getting the formula. I'm not going to criticize him for getting outside the formula because I think that it was ambitious. And you talked about how it was shot. I think that one of the things that Zemeckis is really known for is his special effects. And he's
mhm.
really able to use that in the very beginning of the film, but he's also able to use that with Tom Hanks and Robin Wright throughout the film.
Right. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I like the way it was shot pretty much in this one room. You know, every family, everything is in this one room, and the window that looks out to the mansion across the street. I thought that that was amazing because it it set the spirit, if I can say, of the family, of the room, of the house, of the history. Yeah, I like that part.
I,
Okay.
yeah. So another thing that I liked was that he did a great job of, in my opinion, of introducing us to the two main couples.
Mm-hmm.
Is that you got to know these people, whether you like them, you were rooting for them or not, but he really helped you know who these people were. And I started off talking about the trials and tribulations, but really what they were going through and
Yeah.
how they were either working it out or not able to work it out in any event. uh, I felt like as a storyteller he did a good job with those two characters. And so I like, again, my three were the ambition that he had on it and the different ways in which he was trying to tell the story, because it is a very complicated story. And wow, to be able to try to figure out how to put that on the screen is interesting. It's shot really beautiful. Um, does a great job of helping us with those two characters and getting to know them. And then finally, I thought that the special effects were really done very, very well, and that's his wheelhouse. He wanted to be in that. So I think those are the things that I really liked about the film.
I
I
like
did. Go ahead.
what? Yeah. No, go on. Finish.
No, because I got some things that I didn't like about the film, and I'll
Oh,
get
well,
to
yeah,
that.
we'll get to that part. I liked the women's characters in this film. The women were strong. They had um, some were I don't want to say the same, but there's something about that house that infiltrated some of these women that that um, they made strong characters. He did, from the 1700s, all the way up to 2024. The women were strong. I liked the way he did that. I liked um, the storylines fit the times that the families were in, if I can say that. I mean, I know it sounds confusing because it is, but even from the family that moved in when the house was built to the family that was just out there, just dancing and free and colorful and everything, all the way into the family of Al Young, who was a veteran, who's one of the characters that is like one of the main characters in Rose,
Oh,
and how they raised their children in this house, and how their children evolved in this house, and then um, how Richard and his wife, which is Tom Hanks and Robin, um, how they incorporated into the house and brought in that story and feel and spirit, and it was just it was good. I like the way he did all of that because the characters are strong and the stories are strong.
yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree that the stories are strong. So I said I wasn't going to criticize his ambitious look at this film, but I will tell you is because that it is somewhat confusing, because he does it in a non-linear manner. What the audience is doing, at least what I had to do, was I were like, well, did that happen before this, and did that happen? I was trying to patch it together, and I will tell you, by the time I left, I didn't have it all patched together. Is that I wasn't sure. I was trying to figure it out, and I do think that he could have kept the ambition here, but he probably could have done that part better. What he did is he tied these different families and different time frames to maybe an event, like somebody had a baby, and then all of a sudden you're with the other group that had a baby, or they had some kind of similar transition. And while that thematically worked, it didn't always work. Uh, I guess
Fine,
visually.
couldn't catch
Yeah,
up.
yeah. It didn't always work visually, and I think that when you're trying to catch up in a film, that makes you miss some of the other stuff, because you're like, okay, what happened, and you're talking to yourself as opposed to really living in the experience. So I think that uh, he was ambitious, but I think he had somewhat of a miss there in my thought. I also think, Bonnie, that this film is for older people.
Yes.
And I don't know what I mean by older. because I don't know if I'm saying people are 50, people are sick. I'm not really sure what I mean by that. But what I know I do mean is that it's not for teenagers. This is not
No,
a movie. This is not a movie that the young people or young 20s would really get. You have to have some lived experience to really appreciate, I think, what Zemeckis was trying to do here.
I
Uh,
think that baby boomers, I think that age group of baby boomers and whatever the one that's right up under millennials, or maybe if that's right up under the baby boomers, I think that they would understand it because a lot of the things that the families are going through, a lot of the baby boomers are going through now, and they can relate. And you're right, it took me a minute to catch up from the Native American to George Washington to, like I said, the 1700s and the lady that moved into the house to the inventor and it kind of, but after a minute, well, after a long minute, I must say, I did. I,
I'm feeling you, Bonnie.
I was able to kind of put it together, um, especially when the Black family moved into the house and how they were coming through with their how times had changed where they had a Hispanic housekeeper to help them raise their son, but when the father sits down and talks to his son, his teenage son, um things I was able to start carmentalizing, what's the word?
Uh, uh,
Car-
uh,
car-
uh,
Putting it in different places. I was I was able to finally kind of put it into different places because I stopped trying to put it in order.
yeah, and you know what? This just comes to me as we are talking. As you say, you stop trying to put it in order, and that is an interesting look on life in and of itself. And what probably Zemeckis was doing as well is that every nobody's life was in order.
Right.
Everybody was trying to figure out how to, you know, do the things that they needed to do. I know that Zemeckis talks about this is a film about life, love, and it's all in there. It totally makes sense. But as I as I talk about the things that didn't like land well for me, uh, I was on the fence about the African American family, and what I'll tell you is there's two things that I have two thoughts about that, but I'll come back to it in a sec. The first thought that I have though is that the African American family and the indigenous family, for me, because the focus was on the first two couples, were almost like a throwaway. Did I really need them in this film? They didn't add for me to the film where I felt for them as much and figured out who are these people. And so I would have liked that if you're going to put them in there. You talk about the woman who was dancing with the
Mhm. With that,
with the
the
vacuum. I mean,
cleaner.
their family got more exposure than the African American family. I want to know who are they? What are they doing? Maybe with the indigenous family, you might not have gotten as much, but because it was uh, so early. So, but Zemeckis did Back to the Future, and one of the things I said, instead of going Back to the Future, they really went back in time, and
Mhm.
I probably would have wanted them to. I want that look forward a little bit more than all the look backwards. And here's the thing that I had a problem with the African American family. I applaud Zemeckis for having the talk
Mhm.
in the film. And the talk, for people who don't know, is the talk when a mother or father tells their African American son what to do in the case of a traffic stop with the police, where to put your hands, how to act, how to pass over your license and registration and whatever. And I'm glad he put it in there, in that a lot of times people don't understand the different lives we live. So that's great. I'm not happy he put it in there because it focused on the challenges that we had instead of some of the celebrations that we had. And so I didn't see that. I didn't feel like the indigenous family nor the African American family were celebrated in a way that the other families were. And so I just didn't feel that balance.
Well, as me, I'm not going to say as a female, as me, seeing going from the dinosaurs to the end of the earth to the replenishing of the earth, and then seeing the Native American love couple that came in and their life, and when Rose was having the baby, the indigenous person was having a baby, growing up and everything like that. What I focused on at the end, Reggie, was the land, the story of the land, because they showed the indigenous people, then they showed the enslaved people working to deal with the house on this land, on the not this particular house, but the mansion on this land. And then how the families that evolved in this house on this land. Okay, I don't know, I just kept thinking about, okay, we're all sitting here wherever we are, that was filled with indigenous people on the land that we're sitting on. And it just resonated with me watching
I can see that.
how all of this evolved. And even with the black family, I mean, they were he did make them a
Poor
prestigious
family.
family, middle class family. um but I like that it was included because that brought it to this time. Okay.
No,
So
I see that. I can see that.
yeah. So for me, here was here. Wherever you are is here. Okay. What I didn't like was the AI of Tom Hanks and Robin Wright in the very beginning when they're supposed to be 18 years old. If they were playing college students, okay, but they were supposed to be high school students, and they didn't look like they were high school students.
That's
And
funny.
the AI didn't. After that, the AI worked in aging the people really well, I thought. But that part I did not like, because what, they don't look like they 18. How he gonna try to be 18? you know
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I guess I was able to forgive that. The only thing I'll say, and it's really a repeat of, is that we got snapshots of the Native American family and the African American family. I needed more to feel, um, I don't know, to feel that same connection that they were trying to make with the other two couples, Margaret and those two couples. So some folks have touted this film as Zemeckis's masterpiece. It, it wasn't a masterpiece for me. It wasn't even that painting that you find in the basement and be like, oh, Zemeckis did this, and you about to get a couple of $1 million. It'll be probably that painting that you find in the basement and be like, oh, this is just a sketch, but we might get some money for this one.
I think he's gonna get nominated though.
I think, and that might be true because this is a Hollywood kind of movie. It's a
Yeah.
Hollywood kind of movie, but when I walk out of movies, and I've said this to you before, I always want to know, would this be a movie that I would go see again?
Hmm.
And I, if Donna, my wife, was like, "Hey, let's go see here," I say, "Okay, I see you guys. Have a good time." I wouldn't discourage somebody from going to see it, but it's not one that I need to experience again. I, other than if I'm want to now try to figure out some of the stuff that I didn't figure out, because of how it's layered. That would just be because you might want to study the film. But I'm talking about in terms of experiencing the film. This wasn't one that I would go and see. And I'd be very curious if this was be one for you, where you'd be like, oh yes, Reggie, let's go back and see this one
No,
again.
I wouldn't go back and see it. Forrest Gump, I can go. I don't know why I can see Forrest Gump over
Me,
and over
me
again.
too. Me
You
too.
know, this one, no, I would not go see again. I do think film students would love this, though.
Okay.
I think film students would really love this. But no, I'm with you on that one. Even though I enjoyed the film, I think I enjoyed the process of trying to figure the film out.
Ah, that's great. That's
You
great.
know, I think that, but I don't want to try to figure it out again.
So my rating, for my rating, what I said here reminds us to experience the now, but somehow it gets tangled in the many yesterdays that the film gets a bit lost in time. So that's how I feel, is that it got a little bit tangled in those yesterdays, and so we got lost in the time travel that he was doing. My scale is on a scale of 1 to 4, being 4 being that the top, and I'm giving this one 2.5. I think it's a matinee movie for people to check out. I think it's, again, beautifully done, some great acting, but I don't think that it is it's one of those earth shattering movies.
Right. And my score is from 1 to 5. And for me, I enjoyed the process of thinking about it and figuring it out and knowing that here is where you are, no matter where you are here. I did give it 4 winks of the eye, and that was my rating.
Hey, this is, and the other thing is, this is your show, so you giving it 4, so that's all that matters.
It's our show. This is our segment.
I just laugh at it, but I just say, hey, you giving it 4 weeks, so you telling people to go check this one out.
I'm gonna tell them to go check it out, especially baby boomers. I
Okay.
think that they could really understand and relate to the relationships in this movie and what's going on with it, you know. So yeah. So
The last thing I'll add, Bonnie, before we get off, is that I was on the red carpet to speak with Robert for a moment. Um, when you at the end of the red carpet, you get the end of the red carpet questions, right?
but
But
you get on the red carpet. See, Mommy Dearest was sitting in the basement. You get on the red carpet.
well, I was there and I got to speak to him. His wife Leslie was there and his daughter Zaza, and they both are in the film. So got a chance to just ask him about the film really, really quickly. And I also asked him, had he changed, or how has he grown as a filmmaker? And he said that he thinks that he has, and he's really been blessed that he has never had to make the same movie. So the fact that he's been able to do so many different films, um, he felt blessed to be able to do that.
And I can see that and understand that. He's had a wonderful career, and he's from Chicago.
From Chicago.
So that makes it even better. Well, Reggie, next week we're going to be talking about the piano lesson, and I can't wait to get into it because I'm an August Wilson fanatic.
Uh-oh.
So, everybody, this has been Bonnie's Eye on Film with Bonnie DeShong and Reggie Ponder. See? We'll see you next week on Jam 98, Music for Your Soul.